we're jumping into some college football. Games start on Wednesday, technically, but they actually really started on Saturday because we had some week 0 games going on, and we actually had a bad beat in the very first game of the season. The over-under closed at 52.5 in that Huskers versus the Fighting Illini game. The Huskers kicker misses 2 extra points in that game, and 52 total points are scored. It's Heartbreak City in game 1 of college football season. I mean, welcome back.
Welcome back. Well, anyone that's betting an over in a Big Ten football game, just must have been their first Big Ten football game, I guess, Higgins.
I had over 53.5, and it's just because I didn't have confidence in the defenses, to be honest, and it was close.
It was right there. It was about an extra point
line.
away, probably.
Sharp line. But let's jump into our games that are going on this week, because it still is week 1 technically. Those games were also week 1 if you take a look at the schedule, Brett. And on Wednesday, we have a game between UAB and Jacksonville State, Brett. And typically, we'd probably be just jumping over this game, but I actually want to talk about it. I actually want to talk about this game because if you take a look at UAB, they're the favorites in the Conference USA potentially. Depending on who you ask, definitely out of the Conference USA West Division, they're going to be the favorites. This is a team that each of the past 3 seasons has demonstrably extended and improved their defense. They have one of the best red zone defenses. Their success rate as a defense was one of the top in the nation last year. And then their offense is where the questions are, unfortunately. I mean, their quarterback, he had missed 4 games last year. He's losing a couple of his receivers and his running backs. However, when you look at who UAB is facing, they're facing Jacksonville State, a team that didn't just play last fall. They only played half a season last fall. They played 4 games last fall. They played 9 games in the spring. This is the team that did not have an offseason. They did not get to prep their incoming freshmen properly. They did not get to have their guys gain their typical 15 to 20 pounds in the offseason like they standard do, as their coach was saying in a preview article that I was reading. So honestly, I am not expecting this Jacksonville State team to come out ready because they have not been able to fully heal, fully repair, fully prepare, and grow from last season into this season. It hasn't been a full offseason for them, so I'm expecting struggles early on for Jacksonville State. That's why you look at UAB at minus 14.5. There's questions on that offense, which has me a little bit hesitant, but the UAB defense has me thinking Jacksonville State is going to have a very big issue on offense, and UAB is going to be able to cover that minus 14.5, no problem.
All right, Higgins. Well, I'll just take your word for it on that one because I probably will not be tuning into UAB Jacksonville State on Wednesday. You found a college football game, Higgins. I probably am just going to say, you know what? There's too many good ones on Thursday I'm excited for. I got to hold off and fight for my TV rights on Thursday because in the ACC, Higgins, Sam Howell and North Carolina take on Virginia Tech, and I'm going under 64.5. Virginia Tech will have a new starting quarterback this year, as their quarterback last year, I believe his name was Hayden Hooker or Hilden Hooker. He transferred to Tennessee. Looks like he's going to actually be sitting behind Joe Mixon. Joe Milton.
Joe Mixon's the running back for Cincinnati.
Joe Milton.
For the Bengals.
Excuse me. Joe Milton. It was a not my best. A little twist of tongue there. But Joe Milton, the former Michigan quarterback, is probably going to be starting at Tennessee over the former Virginia Tech quarterback. So, new quarterback at Va Tech. I think these defenses are both pretty strong this year in North Carolina and Virginia Tech. offensive weapons on North Carolina. A lot of them went to the NFL last year between Daz Newsome, Dynemi Brown, Michael Carter, Javante Williams. So, whole new looking North Carolina offense. I don't think a matchup like this in week one really lets the offenses get cooking, Higgins. So, I'm looking for a strong defensive game here, under 64.5 in Blacksburg.
Yeah, that's a pretty tall over under, I would say, especially for all the question marks on offense that you just mentioned. I like that play. I really do. I have a different game on Thursday that my attention's going to be cast at, Brett. And it's another mid major game. That's what I'm starting off with early. I think there's some good value here. And we take a look over at the American Athletic Conference, the AAC. We got Appalachian State hosting the Eastern Carolina. Appalachian State's in the Sun Belt. Eastern Carolina's in the AAC. Eastern Carolina's not expected to really be competing for their conference or their division. Appalachian State is. And so Appalachian State starting off strong, 10 minus 10.5. I really like that, especially when you take a look at this team bringing back nine of their defensemen, 10 if you include one of their corners that had to sit out all of 2020 due to injury. This is a defense that I expect to be strong. There's an offense that I expect to be able to counter well off of that defense and take advantage. Minus 10.5, not too big for me. I like that a lot more than the other one that I just gave, the UAB pick, just because it's under the 14 points. UAB, if you find that line under 14 or at 14 exactly, absolutely take that. That hook is the only thing that scares me about my UAB pick, but minus 10.5 for App State, I love that line.
Fair enough. Well, Higgins, I'm betting on a North Carolina game, so it's only fair I bet on a Duke game. Duke takes on Charlotte. Higgins, Duke loses Chase Bryce, who goes to App State, actually, ironically, to start there. But I think Duke, the ACC school, playing in Charlotte, will want to show that they are the dominant big brother in this matchup. I think the 6.5 is pretty low number. And I think Duke comes in prepared. It'll be interesting to see who Duke starts at quarterback, though. They have quite a few quarterbacks on the roster, Higgins. I'm not 100% sure I have my finger on the pulse on this one.
Yeah, there's six quarterbacks on their roster. I mean, if I had to guess, I mean, there's senior Gunnar Holmberg, but that's literally a guess. It could be one of the other two juniors as well, like Jack Collier or Gavin Spurrier. There's a quarterback situation in Durham, I would say.
I think that's fair for sure, Higgins. My last game on Friday, though, that I will be on, Big Ten battle between Michigan State and Northwestern. I told everyone that would listen about the Northwestern Wildcats last year. Called them the best team in the Big Ten. There were some other pretty good teams in the Big Ten, most notably Ohio State. Northwestern got stomped on by Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. But I'll still say this, Northwestern, 2 first-round picks last year in the NFL draft, Higgins. They're looking to build on that. 3.5 point favorites in the season opener, the home opener for Northwestern. Michigan State, down program right now. I'm going to be fading Michigan State all year against good teams in the Big Ten. So let's start it off with Northwestern on Friday.
Okay, I like that, and you're not lying. You told anybody that would listen last year about Northwestern. You talked specifically a lot about their defense last year. Is that what you're high on for them again this year?
Yeah, I think Northwestern's defense. Again, Peyton Ramsey back, so you hope he's going to play well. But Northwestern's defense is what carries them. Pat Fitzgerald, obviously, former star linebacker at Northwestern, so he takes a lot of pride in that defense, Higgins.
Yes, he does. I'm also going to be jumping into the Big Ten, Brett, and this is actually a pick that I made that I thought was a game on Friday because that's what the sports book said actually when I was writing down the odds for our rundown. But it turns out Penn State and Wisconsin, they're playing on Saturday. The sports book was lying to me. And I have some cautious optimism for this Penn State team. I typically find myself feeling some cautious optimism for a Penn State team whenever they find themselves with a senior quarterback that's had a year or two under their belt, like Sean Clifford does with Penn State this year. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, they had high hopes last year, but they had some COVID bugs. They had some other issues that kind of jumped up for them. And so Penn State traveling to Wisconsin, I'm going to be backing Penn State on the money line. It's just under plus 200 on the money line right now. And I like that value because I do expect this to be a close game, Brett. The line is at 5.5 points in favor of the Wisconsin Badgers right now. I don't know if it should be over a 3-point spread personally, but I'm going to be staying away from the spread because I do actually like the Nittany Lions to win outright. So I'm going to be taking them here. I think this is going to be a game that says a lot about both of these teams, though, for this year. They're starting off with a big Big Ten test just to start off their season. This game has implications for conference standings, conference championship games at the end of the year in their very first game. It's very interesting to see them playing this early.
Yeah, I mean, lots of great games in the Big Ten. I'm excited for Minnesota, Ohio State as well, Higgins. So
Mm-hmm.
lots of good football coming up
Yes,
this weekend in the Big Ten.
yes, there really is. And there's plenty of other great games on Saturday that we could talk about, Brett. But then we give ourselves no social media content to be able to start teasing out over this next week because, like you said, you're in the process of moving, so we will not be recording our typical Thursday episode this week. Typically, we record on Wednesday nights, but Brett, you got a lot of things going back and forth from New York City to New Jersey. I don't want to add a little bit of extra mileage onto your mind right now by having to think of another podcast episode, too.
No, yeah, it's a tough week, but we'll get back into our normal recording schedule for sure.
Absolutely. So make sure to follow us on our social media for those college football picks. That's at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel.